Liberty Nation with Tim Donner.
Say what? Say what? Say what? One more time.
We kick off the year's proceedings in this, our 9th year on the air, with our signature segment, Say What?, where we roll out an assembly line of wacky, astonishing, damnable, and ultimately revealing things uttered by politicians and the chattering class. A few things likely slipped your notice over the holidays, and today we will bring you right up to speed. Of course, the biggest item on the agenda, impeachment, is still awaiting the delivery of the articles of impeachment from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. It will happen at some point this coming week, one suspects. And then a Senate trial will ensue and Trump will be acquitted. What's not yet clear, beyond that delivery date, is who's going to win the battle on how the trial is conducted between Trump, who wants a long, drawn-out trial with tons of witnesses, and McConnell, who wants to get it over with as soon as possible. Now, one of the witnesses Trump would really like to have placed under the Klieg lights is Joe Biden. And true to form, when the former vice president was questioned about whether he'd comply with a subpoena to testify, likely, about his dealing in Ukraine, which resulted in his son Hunter getting paid millions of dollars with no qualifications and getting the prosecutor investigating his son's company fired, Biden said he'd defy a subpoena and then doubled down when asked about it by editors of the Des Moines Register, most prominent newspaper in Iowa, home of the first Democratic presidential contest.
Do you stand by your earlier statements that you wouldn't comply if you were subpoenaed to testify in an impeachment trial before the Senate?
Correct. And the reason I wouldn't is because it's all designed to deal with Trump doing what he's done his whole life, trying to take the focus off him.
Doesn't that position you as if you're defying a subpoena, putting yourself above the law?
Well, look, the grounds for them to call me would be overwhelmingly specious.
So Biden was clear. He will not honor a subpoena. Well, he was clear at least until the next day, that is, when he suddenly did what he's so often done during the campaign, reversed field.
Would you comply with the subpoena?
Yeah, would you show?
I would honor whatever the Congress, in fact, legitimately asked me to do.
So we are led to believe that Joe Biden will show up under subpoena only if he decides it's legitimate. One way or another, Trump's beatdown on Biden for the Ukraine mess has only just begun. Biden still somehow leading the Democrats' presidential race, but the other two frontrunners, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, are full-on socialists who support the Green New Deal and Medicare for All, among other economy-destroying proposals. And Bernie's most high-profile supporter is none other than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who said at a Bernie rally over the holidays that America under Trump is akin to Nazi Germany. And then just listen to her agenda.
It is fascism. What we have, what we're evolving into as well. What this campaign is about is a radical realignment of our priorities in the United States of America. It's a movement of anti-racist Black liberation activists, of immigration activists, of queer liberation activists.
You thought Barack Obama's fundamental transformation of America was frightening? That now sounds tame. But socialists like AOC get big play in the virtue-signaling Trump-deranged echo chamber media, while Trump voters get consistently condemned by the likes of Chuck Todd, host of NBC's Meet the Press. Listen to what Mr. Todd said during a special Meet the Press on fake news and alternative facts with the editors of the two most prominent Trump-deranged publications in the country, New York Times and Washington Post.
I want to read you guys a letter to the editor that we found in the Lexington Herald Leader.
It was a fascinating attempt at trying to explain why some people support President Trump. Here's what he says. Why do good people support Trump? It's because people have been trained from childhood to believe in fairy tales. This set their minds up to accept things that make them feel good. The more fairy tales and lies he tells, the better they feel. Show me a person who believes in Noah's Ark, and I will show you a Trump voter. Look, this gets at something, Dean, that my executive producer likes to say is, hey, voters want to be lied to sometimes. They don't always love being told hard truths.
Not only does that perfectly depict the spectacular disconnect between the inside the Beltway media, which speaks only to itself, each other, and fellow leftists, and regular workaday Americans, but just how cowardly is it to hide your own beliefs like Chuck Todd did behind a letter from some unknown person? Corrupt and cowardly. That is the elite media circa 2020. Another thing that happened over the holidays was an editorial from the head of the magazine Christianity Today, Mark Galli, supporting the impeachment of Trump. He did that on his way out the door. He's now retired. And he did it despite the overwhelming support Trump has enjoyed among evangelical Christians. But you will just love this response from the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The reason they're so offended is it's exposing all of them that they would take this shameless con man over the principles that they're preaching in the holy season. As we celebrate Jesus, they would sell Jesus out if they felt they could get something from it.
Al Sharpton calling anyone, a shameless con man is akin to Jussie Smollett attacking someone for making stuff up, or Hillary Clinton condemning someone for being unlikable, or AOC calling someone an extremist. But as we look to the presidential election now just 10 months away, one of the keenest observers of politics has been, and continues to be, the famous left-wing filmmaker and Bernie Sanders supporter Michael Moore, who called Trump's win in 2016 and now says Trump is only looking stronger 4 years later.
If the vote were today, I believe he would win the electoral states that he would need, because living out there, I will tell you, his level of support has not gone down 1 inch. In fact, I'd say it's even more rabid.
Now, Moore went on to bring forward a fact little known about how the Michigan voters in 2016 were actually more anti-Hillary than they were pro-Trump.
There were 90,000 people in Michigan, almost 90,000, who went to the polls, mostly Democrats, and very large numbers of them in Detroit, Flint, Pontiac, Saginaw. These are all black cities, majority black. They stood in line in the cold for 2 to 3 hours to vote. They went in there and they voted for state rep, state senate, county commission. They voted for the Democrats all down ballot and left the top box blank. 90,000. She only lost Michigan by 10, 11,000 votes. 90,000 wanted to send a message to the Democratic Party. You forgot us a long time ago out here, and we will not put up with this anymore.
And so Trump won narrow upset victories in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, on top of big wins in Ohio, Missouri, Iowa, and Kentucky, completing a sweep of the heartland everywhere but Illinois, plus a narrow loss in Minnesota. Democrats cannot win the White House in 2020 without flipping one or more of those states. But instead of trying to win back those voters and promise to do better by them this time, they've demonized the Trump voters. And those thousands of Democrats who Michael Moore described who refused to vote for Hillary in 2016 have seen nothing from the Democrats to change their minds this time.